You're listening to Dr. Troy Munson's Words of Radiance. Now here is Dr. Munson.
Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Troy Munson. Have you ever had everything just kind of going your way? I don't know if you've thought this about yourself, but I have, and we giggle, my wife and I, when we think this. I must be doing everything right spiritually. Every light was green today when I drove. Everybody just got out of my way. It was beautiful. I got a front row parking spot. I got handed a cart by somebody going out and the cart drove straight. And we can use all of these things that seem to be just amazing in our life that, I must be doing it all correct because look at all the blessings coming my way. And it's an easy thing to fall into, but of course, as those who have been around the spiritual endeavor long enough have realized the trap that it is. And while we want to acknowledge that we are blessed, that we are love itself, that we are not alone, that everything has been provided for us, that we are one with the all, we're not alone, nobody's out to get us, the world is actually looking to bless us, but to go around acknowledging it and then maybe telling people how amazing you really are might not be such a wise thing. Now, here's another aspect of this particular double-edged sword that we want to be very, very careful with. And if you've ever thought this, and some of you maybe are new to the spiritual game, are probably going to be more adept at this than others, but when things are going really well, what do most people think? Oh, just wait for the other shoe to drop. Oh, it'll just be a moment, something bad will happen. And they're looking for something bad to balance what is good. Now, while this is sound in and of itself, I'll tell why in just a moment, but we don't want to be really doing that either. I mean, you can totally do that. You can expect bad things and watch for them, and they will happen because you are powerful. However, don't you just get kind of tired of things just coming at you? Can you maybe just let go of not only thinking that things are really great and so therefore you're doing it right, and hey, things are bad, so I must be doing it wrong? What if we just let go of our thinkingness around that? So let's talk a bit about why that those good and bad things seem to happen so that you understand the mechanism. And then once you understand the mechanism, you'll be like, oh, okay, I can either choose to continue down this road that I'm doing, or I can totally change my thinking about it and begin to fix the error in my own brain or mind. So let's unpack it. And I've explored this a little bit in other podcasts. You've heard this before. It's fine. It's probably wise to have it repeated. Now, one of the things that you may notice is in your day-to-day travels, you might all of a sudden feel like, man, this is an amazing, awesome day. I am just on top of the world. And if you have a family and you go home with that feeling and that elation, when you get home, I am willing to bet that oftentimes you'll find it chaos in your house. That you'll find problem after problem hitting you the moment that you walk in. And this is not uncommon at all. Let's say that your day seems to have beat you up. And when you get home, they're in a state of elation. Like, I've just had the most amazing day. You'll find that oftentimes be the case too. And here's why. Those that we live with closely, they tend to have a certain energy signature or emotional state or mental capacity, however you want to verbalize that. Maybe you would rather verbalize it as a spiritual calibration. You know, it's where you bob in this celestial ocean, so to speak. And the bottom of this ocean is very low. We'll call it zero at the bottom or death. And then all the way at the top, we'll call it peace or ecstasy or joy, and then out of the water is the light, the the oneness of everything, the non-duality of heaven itself out of the water. Let's just give it some kind of at least idea here. Well, everybody is bobbing in this ocean at their own level. And so let's say that I'm bobbing right around pride. And so I'm bobbing kind of low. I'm in a constant state of fear. I don't believe I'm good enough, so therefore I'm going to make myself look better and try to tell you how good I am and be prideful. And so I have a lot of fear still built into the system, so to speak. I'm not lower like guilt and shame, but I am still in this fear realm at pride. And then all of a sudden, let's say that we have somebody else who has that neutrality. They're just very pleased all the time. They're happy to be in existence. They're just delighted. Everything is just fine. I'm neutral. And some people can think, well, that seems kind of apathetic. No, apathy is very low. Apathy is nothing matters and I don't care. Neutrality is I do not mind whatever happens. I am excellent with all of it. And so it's a much higher state of vibrational frequency or spiritual calibration or mental outlook or whatever you want to call it. And so if you're bobbing at neutrality, let's say that something kind of disturbing happens in the day, you might bob down into a little bit of anger and go fairly low for just a few minutes, maybe an hour, and then all of a sudden you'll bob back up into neutrality because that's where you are most of the time. Sometimes you might bob up into unconditional love, just high states of just wonderment and joy and peace. And then you'll bob back down into neutrality. So those are common things to do. So what happens though, as we're bobbing with our families, we tend to all bob together. Now you might have your level and your spouse might be lower or higher. Your children might be lower or higher, so to speak, in their little bob. But because you're interacting with them all the time, you're going to be balanced. They've chosen you because you tend to help balance them. You've chosen them because they tend to help balance you. When you go into these higher states like elation and unconditional love, but you're often at, let's say, reason or neutrality or willingness, they're going to bring you back down because you're destabilizing the family unit, so to speak. So if you're in a high state of elation and unconditional love, you may find a mess waiting for you at home, and they're going to pull you back down. Now, what do you do about this? Well, number one is you, in the face of that, you still continue to grow and see things clearly. It's always a beautiful thing to grow, though few of us will actually do it. Now, if you're listening to this, chances are that you've chosen to grow because you didn't listen this long without being intrigued about how do I do this? This guy actually sounds like he may have some modicum of understanding and maybe he could help me. So as we begin to let go of the negative side of us, all those little things, like let's say you have this little minor irritation that happens from time to time, and you dig in and you say, you know what, I do not want this irritation anymore. I'm going to dig in and figure out where this is coming from within my own brain. What belief in my past is it hooked to that I haven't ferreted out? And how do I fix it and correct it so that I do not get irritated or angry or upset anymore by this particular type of upset? So you might have a whole laundry list of things that do tend to irritate you or upset you. They're great fodder when they happen to write them down and then to go about dismantling them by simply writing about them. All your thoughts, feelings, emotions about what it is that you just experienced. You might go deeply into your mind while you're writing and say, what does this remind me of? Does this remind me of something in my past? Chances are very, very likely that it does. You can go into that moment of time. Let's say, I was just writing today on irritation. I haven't written about it. It's been sitting on my little desk, this little scrap of paper that says, am I irritated? ? And I knew I needed to write on it, but I've kind of been dragging my heels a little bit. When the right time comes, the right time comes. So today was that right time. As I began to write on irritation, all of a sudden, stupidity came up, because let's say that I get irritated like by a red light. You know what? There's nobody coming and here I'm sitting at a stupid red light. I am perfectly smart enough to be able to go and not disturb any traffic on a red light. But here I am waiting for it. And so the moment I see it, I'm like, Somebody told you you were stupid or dumb and you believe them because now you see something that is stupid and you're irritated with it. Instead of just being patient and not minding if the light is red. And so then I began to look into stupidity and being called dumb or times when I did not feel smart. And now I start finding things. Oof. When I was in 4th grade, I did not do a science project. I felt overwhelmed. I didn't understand how I was supposed to write this monstrosity of a science project. And so I drug my heels instead of asking the teacher because I didn't know I could do that. I wasn't confident enough to do that. And she, of course, didn't check in with her students just to make sure that they understood and that maybe they were struggling. Maybe they had some emotional blocks. She didn't know. It's okay. It's okay that she didn't know. But all this was a setup for me to get to that point when the projects were supposed to be handed in and I had nothing. And so I got a D. It's the only D I think I've gotten in my life. Maybe I've had another, I don't remember. But I remember that one very clearly. And of course, I felt ashamed. I felt stupid. I felt embarrassed. I felt like I wanted to crawl into a rock and not exist. And therefore now is that belief. I believe that I am stupid. And so now that I see it clearly, I can begin to dismantle that. Does it really matter my intellectual capability? No, it doesn't, and it shouldn't matter to any of us. Do I not have full access to all knowledge through God, if you believe there is a God? But do you have access to life itself, to knowledge itself, to peace itself, to infinite love itself? And have you not ever received some type of inspiration that you have no idea where it came from, but you're pretty certain it came from the Spirit or came from God or came from whatever you want to call it? That which is us outside of us, yet deeply within us, that isn't physical, that is beyond the physical, that is one with everything. That knows all supplies knowledge as needed. And so if we all have access to this, does it really matter, my intellectual capability? Even though I might sound smart on a podcast, can I believe that I was stupid? Yes. Is anybody going to stop me? No. And if somebody tries to stop me, am I going to believe them when they tell me that I'm smart? Or am I going to believe myself and trust myself because I'm with myself all the time? Who am I going to trust more? And of course, I'm going to trust myself. Just like you can listen to these words and realize his words sound really nice, but I'm still stupid, or I'm still ugly, or I'm still bad, or I'm still awful, or I'm still not worth anything, or I'm still whatever, fill in the blank. But those are only thoughts that you and I believe about ourselves. And in the midst of, or in the presence of that allness that is love itself, that only understands and creates perfectly, that created us as well, in the presence of that, do we really think that we know better than what created us? Do we really think that perfect love, perfect peace, perfect knowledge, perfect wisdom, perfect experience knew how to create us? Do we think we know better than that? Do we think that our opinion of ourselves is actually right? And that which is one with everything, that is perfect, could possibly know better than us? And of course, as we say it, it becomes kind of stupid. Yes, the one that is in all and of all and around all, that is the Creator, whatever that is, knows way better what we are and did not make an error or make a mistake. And that the beauty of us is already known. And if we judge it otherwise, we're only in error. And luckily it's a correctable error because it doesn't change us at all. We still are this most amazing, wonderful being that is love itself, that is light itself, that is knowledge itself, that is wisdom itself, that is eternal, that is one with everyone else. And it's perfect. And so as we begin to let go of our old beliefs, and we now all of a sudden can pick out those beliefs effortlessly, and now we start raising up in the celestial ocean. We start elevating. We start becoming more light-filled or enlightened. We begin to be much easier. We begin to love more effortlessly. We begin to forgive and give it away as if it's water, because it's everywhere. And we begin to let go of all judgments. We begin to let go of all attachments. We begin to let go of resisting anything and everything. And now we find ourselves like that beautiful nursery rhyme, gently down the stream, flowing with life instead of against it. We're not looking for the bad things to happen when something good happens. We simply honor that we are so blessed, and that we're grateful, and that we're thankful, and that we look for everything that is good rather than everything that is bad. And we begin to rise up quite beautifully, and those around us are a bit disconcerted. They don't like it when their world is turned topsy-turvy because one of them is growing. But hang in there. There may be a little bit of fear coming your way, but just hang on. We will not leave you in fear. We're going to continue to call you up into greater states of being, greater states of love. Your natural state, by the way, your most natural state, that is perfect love, that is perfect joy, perfect peace, ecstasy in itself. Knowingness that it is one with everything and that it's all just perfect. And then you begin to understand these terms like salvation. You begin to understand these terms like atonement. You begin to understand these things like forgiveness and blessings and beauty and joy. And then you understand what some of these religions are talking about, and that it isn't a religion, that it is a relationship. And this relationship is one with the self that is in you, that is in everyone, that is in everything, that is everywhere. And of course, that one self is God. And so we rise up together, or we fall together. But we've already done the lower stuff. We're all rising up higher and higher. And the fact that you're listening to this shows it to be true. So pass it along. Have abundance in terms of forgiveness and grace. With yourself mostly, but definitely with others too. And begin to just watch. As you begin to watch inside your own mind and let go of all the negativity, and only allow the joy and the peace and your inheritance, which is love, to reign within your own mind. And you begin to realize how beautiful life can be when its kingdom is quite straightened out and corrected. Back to the way it should be, back to the way it will always be forever and ever and ever, on this short blip we call the physical world. So until next time, I hope this was helpful. I'm Dr. Troy Munson.